Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rewatch Project of Hannah and Mike. I am Mike, and with me, as always, is Hannah. How are you this evening, Hannah?
I am delighted to be back.
It's been a month.
It's been a whole 4 weeks.
As you just pointed out to me.
Yep. Very, very sorry for the delay in recording, but it's been a technical snafu.
It's all Hannah's fault.
Yeah.
I want the record to...
Yeah. Apparently I am capable of breaking recording devices that I'm not even in the same room as.
It's actually not Hannah's fault at all. I was expecting her to fight back, but now I feel like a terrible, terrible person. But no, we are back. It was a case of broken microphone, but fortunately, the generous benefactors of my reaction video side project were extremely generous. And
thank you to everybody. If any of you are watching, thank you so much.
Yes.
It was incredibly generous of everyone to donate, and it's meant that we've been able to get some new microphones and feel like we are radio DJs.
Yeah, baby. We need to have one of those, those headphones that you hold with just one ear. I always think of the... did you have Grange Hill in New Zealand?
Yes, we had Grange Hill.
Do you remember the Just Say No, the anti-drug song that they released?
Yeah.
I always remember the video for that because it was them in a recording studio and the cool kid had the one.
Oh, yeah.
I bet he sat on chairs backwards at drama school.
I believe that they also had one, one headphone up to the ear on, what was the Geldof song?
Oh, yes.
Feed the World? Or
Feed the World, yes. Yeah. Do They Know It's Christmas? I believe is the
Christmas?
Actual...
I'm sure there was a few at Christmas times going on. So.
Yeah, there certainly was. But anyway, I feel like we're breaking our record for tangential conversations here already, Hannah. So shall we tell the gentle listeners and viewers what it is we're going to be discussing this evening?
Tonight we are discussing the second episode of the second season of Babylon 5.
B5, baby.
It is the episode entitled Revelations.
Mm-hmm.
Synopsis says, Jakar brings news of an old enemy's return. Dr. Franklin tries to bring Garibaldi out from his coma. Delenn returns quite changed. It is directed by Jim Johnston and written by JMS.
Alrighty then. So we are back in the wonderful world of Babylon 5. I think that we've talked before about how from here on out the vast majority of episodes are written by JMS. So I am not expecting a standalone for this one, but I guess we will find out. But a couple of quick bits of housekeeping before we get onto that, though. Just a reminder that we do appreciate feedback. You can send that to rewatchprojectpodcast@gmail.com, or alternatively, you can just leave comments right here on the channel, and we will read those out if they feel feedbacky enough to do.
I have some.
Oh, awesome. Okay, we'll get to that momentarily. Mm-hmm. Also, do check out the other content on this channel, including the music reaction videos that I do and the other film, TV, music, and general pop culture-related goodness that cohabits this here channel. And also, a reminder that we do appreciate donations via PayPal, but if and only if you can afford to do so without causing yourself any financial hardship. And do check out our friend shows, including Chinstroker versus Punter, the Good, the Bad, and the Odd Talk Without Rhythm podcast, and Film Bastard. So, Hannah, feedback. Do we have any?
So, this is on the previous episode, the first episode of season 2, where John Sheridan comes in. Okay, so Simon Giles says, Macaulay Bruton, who plays Garibaldi's treacherous second-in-command, as mainly on set to keep an eye on Michael O'Hare and let people know when it was a bad day.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So that explains why he was recurring then.
Yeah.
And that's a great one of those sort of genre TV things like, Gillian Anderson becoming pregnant, forcing the hand of the writers to have to be creative.
Yeah. He says, once you learn what O'Hare was going through, episodes like And the Sky Full of Stars and A Voice in the Wilderness, where Sinclair is seeing things that aren't there, hit differently.
Yeah, that's a great point. That must have been pretty close to home.
Absolutely. The coolest of Cool Daddies, our very fantastic feedbacker, has sent through a few comments, so I'm going to read them all, apart from one which is a spoiler. I'll save that for if we have any spoiler content, or if we decide not to do a spoiler section, those who want to, go ahead and read it. He's very much signposted the comment. And I very much agree with your comment. I thought it was really good. Okay, so Coolest of Cool Daddies says, the colour palette changes as the seasons get darker. Reminds me of the Warner Brothers logo at the start of the Harry Potter movies. Even the costumes get darker. Look at Londo. Very true.
Yeah, that's a great point.
He's in quite a... was he in black in the first episode? Or
yeah. And also, I mean, they're both Warner Brother properties as well.
Yeah.
So it does almost feel, but no, it is a good point. But I think the change in colour palette between season 1 and 2, I think that's more than just a darkening. It does feel like the aesthetic of the show changed a lot. Like, you know, when you go back and rewatch season 1, it feels almost 80s. You know, whereas season 2 feels very 90s.
Yeah. He goes on to say, totally agree on the pacing. Again, JMS is such an astounding writer. He makes an hour show feel like it could have been full feature length in content, yet still flies by. Fits 5 pounds of show into 3 pound bags.
Yeah.
I very much agree with that.
Yeah,
Thank you for those. FSM Dog has responded... If you haven't read Becoming Superman, you need to. It's available on Audible with Peter Jurassic reading it.
Oh, wow. That's JMS's autobiography.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be...
Be a nice listen.
I think I might need to take that up. Thanks for that recommendation.
Yeah.
And
does
then
does he do it in Londo's voice?
That'll be good.
Yeah.
He then says, at 34 minutes, I think you mean serialised. I have absolutely no idea what it is that we said, but...
I bet that I say episodic instead of serialised.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for those comments. They were awesome, and I really appreciate them. Well, we both really appreciate them, but me specifically because I'm very needy. So anyone that provides me with feedback is okay in my book.
Absolutely. And I believe also that this was one of the episodes that people were wondering whether Hannah's back would be better by.
Well, it is. It is better.
Yeah. But you will notice we are still in this interim recording arrangements of...
I have just taken codeine and paracetamol.
Yeah, things are going to get wild here pretty soon, guys.
I have a boiling hot water bottle on my back currently. So
morphine drip.
Yeah, I'm feeling
straight into her veins.
But it is... I mean, it's not something that's going to just get better. Like, I do actually need surgery. On my back. They're going to do all kinds of things to
it. And we will live stream that surgery with me performing it on this channel if we reach enough donations to buy the equipment for it. So that's our next stretch goal, you know.
There is no way in hell, even if the best doctor in the world told me that Mike had passed all of the surgical exams necessary to perform the surgery, would I let that man operate on my back?
No, you shouldn't even let me near. You shouldn't even let me paint your nails.
I've seen you try and make white sauce. Yeah, it was interesting.
Didn't go well. As we move further and further into season 2, we hope to get more feedback from you, the gentle listener. It's definitely plenty to talk about. So, what did you say this episode was called again, Hannah?
Revelations.
Okay, so we're going to hit pause, and then we will watch this episode of Babylon 5, and then we will come back and tell you our initial reactions to Revelations. See you shortly. And we are back. So we've just finished watching episode 2 of season 2 of Babylon 5, namely the episode Revelations. So Hannah, before we get into the breakdown, any initial thoughts?
As much as I really love Michael O'Hare, and I do really love him and think he was the best person to kick the series as a whole off, I just think that the character of John Sheridan and the performance of, I forget his name.
Bruce Boxleitner.
Oh, BB.
How can you forget that name? I mean, that's a...
I knew it was two Bs, but, I'm perimenopausal. A lot of information just flies out of my head these days. I just think his performance is so elevated.
Yeah.
And perfect for what they need, because it's getting much, like, it's getting more serious, but it's also getting like treacherous and emotionally. So there's got to be a lot of
humanity.
Yeah, and a lot of subtle a subtle style of acting, which I think he is more predisposed to than Michael O'Hare.
Bruce Boxleitner's...
I think Michael O'Hare is really good at the big sort of I'm your father kind of acting.
Bruce Boxleitner is a much more modern actor. His style of acting is much more contemporary. And whereas Michael O'Hare is very much theatrical, and he's very much a theatre actor.
Yeah, he feels very projected when he's...
Whereas Boxleitner is, and this sometimes gets used disparagingly against people, but I think he is an absolute consummate television actor. He understands the assignment. He understands the closeness of the relationship that the camera has with actors on television.
Watching him, and this is quite an emotional episode for him, because he's obviously recounting the death of his wife and the guilt he feels around that. He brings a lot of emotional depth to those scenes.
But it's not maudlin, though. That's the other thing, is the fact that if this was made now,
real.
Yeah, if this was made now, it would be so depressing.
Yeah.
But the reality is, people, when they've dealt with tragedy, people are incredible at compartmentalising.
Well, there's light and shade, isn't there?
Well, life goes on, and people do throw themselves into their work and forget. That's why they do it. They do it to forget.
Yeah.
But
even when you're close to a bereavement, say, around a funeral date, people in grief can be perfectly capable of having a laugh about something, and it doesn't mean they're not grieving.
Yeah.
It just means that there's light and shade. We're all human beings.
Yeah, we
experience a range of emotions. And he's just really good at conveying that without having to signpost it. I really enjoyed his performance.
And by the end of season 5, you will have learnt his name.
Yes.
That can be a goal. Any other thoughts on the episode in general?
I thought it was a good episode in getting to know a bit more about the character of John Sheridan, because, he's kind of... You don't really know him up to this point, because so much was sort of outstanding in the first episode with the president being assassinated, Garibaldi's in a coma. All these things are happening. He's thrust into the position. So... it's a good episode to kind of just take a breath and reflect back on that. I thought Jakar gives a brilliant performance, and it's funny actually, because I'd conflated this episode into the first episode, and I was thinking, when is that scene? And it, like, the scene that really stuck with me the first time we watched it was when Londo and Jakar are in the hallway, and he's talking about how the sins of the past will only be, got over by shedding blood of the Centauri. Yeah. But in saying all of that, we're all under...
we're all kind of in this together.
We're all in a problem here. So we're going to need to work together, and kind of extending a bit of an olive branch. And I remember at the time thinking... what a big move that was of him to kind of recognise that what he knew was bigger than any of that.
I mean, particularly if you compare this to the moustache twirler that Jakar was.
Yeah,
You know,
he's a very different character.
Yeah,
already.
and I think that when the show started, they were playing off a lot of the existing tropes in science fiction. You know, the assumption that the warrior-y, the Klingon-looking guy is going to be the bad guy and all of this. So I think that was very intentional. And of course, now we're starting to see, we saw a little bit of it in season 1 when he sent the rescue ship for Catherine Sakai.
Yeah.
And his view then was like, well, what
It doesn't benefit us.
What, yeah,
to die.
yeah. Why? You know, and that makes sense. It doesn't mean he's not a bad person or anything like that. But again, it goes back to what you were saying about Sheridan. And one of the things that this show does that TV didn't do that much at the time is people aren't one thing.
Yeah.
You know, and
they explore the greyness rather than being black and white about everything.
yeah, and that's the case with every single character. I mean, in some instances, it's more pronounced than others. But
there are some that are just out and out bad guys and out and out good guys.
Yeah.
But you know, the majority of people have a range through them, which is interesting to watch. What about you? What did you think?
I thought this episode was sensational. I think I liked it a lot more than you did. I thought,
I loved it.
Oh, okay. I thought.
Did I make it sound like I did it?
Oh no! But you were like, yeah, it was a good episode for building this. I thought it was sensational.
No, I loved it. I loved it. I was just trying to think of specific things.
Oh yeah. No, I think it's. I mean, to me, this is in some ways the first true episode of Babylon 5. This was. I was about halfway through this episode. I was like, yeah, this is Babylon 5. I mean, that's not to say the first season wasn't. I think you needed to have that.
You absolutely need to have the first season.
This episode touches every single one of the major storylines in a really meaningful way. It brings them together incredibly elegantly. All the performances are great, and it just shows you that nothing has been forgotten and that everything's brought together, and
you're in safe hands.
Absolutely. And I think particularly on a rewatch, you start getting the first little sort of reminders of what the show can be. You know,
I think this is why, you know, it's scenes from this episode that have stuck in my memory.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. This is really does feel like the start of the epic Babylon
and
5.
stylistically as well. I mean, and there's some elements. There's some of the reasons for that are really obvious. Like there's Delenn. Delenn has now become the Delenn that we know in the show.
And it is quite funny going back and seeing her from the start, and like because you sort of forget how different she looked to begin.
And you get used to that when you rewatch it again as well, and then you're like, oh yeah. But the complexity of the relationship between Jakar and Londo, and the feeling of kind of rooting for their friendship in a weird way, because it's almost like, well, if they can learn to get along, then there's hope for all of us.
100%.
You know? And so it's kind of like almost like a romantic storyline in some ways, in the way that you
Will they, won't they?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's starting to show as well. But all of the characters are just starting to take on other dimensions. Like Lanier feels much stronger as a character as well, because he's had stuff to do.
He's got far more gravitas.
Well, he's not just the I don't understand your Earth humour guy anymore, which is kind of what he was for a while.
He's coming into his own with this important shit happening,
Yes.
and he is actually integral to it.
But also all of the very Tolkien-esque, you know, the dark, foul corners of the universe, and all of that, you know,
thousands of years ago.
Yeah. And Zahadum, obviously, that's a very Tolkien-esque word, you know, and like Kazakh Doom,
and just like even the fact that Jakar leaves and he travels to the outer edges and to find, you know, it's like Gandalf going to the library because
it's exactly that, yeah.
because he needs to find out about the ring.
And that's the great thing about doing rewatches, because when I first watched Babylon 5, I didn't really know Lord of the Rings that well, so but also you've got all of the stuff with the conspiracy, the government, Psychor. It just feels there's a richness to it, but that blend of 90s style science fiction, but also just good straight drama, but the whimsy and the very literate, prosaic, fantastical fantasy genre elements of it are really starting to feel. You had all of those elements were there in the first season, but they were kind of separate. What we're seeing now is that the showrunners have got to the point now where they've managed to make all of these things coalesce into this unique thing that is Babylon 5 as a show. The show now has its own thing, and it's not just a show like Star Trek anymore. I think its differences to Star Trek are really apparent now, and a big part of that is the poetry of the fantastical is starting to become like a lot of Delen's dialogue and Lanier's dialogue and Jakar's dialogue has this, and they'll quote poetry and literature and things like this. You've got the center cannot hold and all that kind of stuff. And there's something really pleasingly prosaic about Babylon 5, and you're really starting to see that now. And I think that all comes together. But also, it's just really damned entertaining. It moves along at a clip. And you and I have talked before about just the clarity of the storytelling. You're never confused. There's all of these plot lines and all of these concepts.
Keep stuff back, but they don't just confuse you for
at no point are you confused.
No.
And when you think about the complexity of this storyline, the amount of characters and races and different kinds of technology and concepts, and to be able to tell that story and have it be engrossing, entertaining, but also just coherent is really, because that's one of those things, a bit like music, or it should seem easy. When it's done really well, you're not even aware of, wow, that's really clever. And I think sometimes, as much as I love premium TV, your Breaking Bads, things like that, those shows do kind of draw attention to their cleverness. Whereas Babylon 5 just is very humble in the way that it presents the storyline. Yeah, they don't make a thing about it being clever or anything. They just, they just go for it. All right, well, let's have a look at some key moments in the episode. So we start up with Londo being angry about the missing ambassadors, because obviously both Delen and Jakar are out of action. And when you consider that the whole point of the station is to be a diplomatic forum, a home away from home for diplomats, and considering there's him, Sheridan, old Forlon, Kosh, Oshkosh Bagosh. Yeah, I can't believe you forgot Kosh. Oh, honestly, oh my gosh, my brain is mosh. Yeah, it is. Who else was there? Well, and then you've got the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, who are kind of count as one, almost. Yeah. But so it's actually massively. They're not going to make any kind of decision about anything, are they? It's actually like massively disruptive that they're doing their own things. So Jakar's left to investigate the attack, and we see the weird ships attacking them. Franklin goes to Sheridan about Garibaldi because he's not coming out of the coma, and he tells him about the unauthorized procedure, the alien device. I thought that was a really good move of Sheridan as well, to put himself forward for being hooked up to the machine, because it's kind of like aside from all of his arguments about the doctor needs to be able to sort things out if it goes wrong, blah blah blah, fully get it, but equally Garibaldi's the only one who he hasn't had any time or relationship with yet, so by
kind of taking that leap and hooking himself up. It's showing him that he's important and he matters.
Talk about, you want to ingratiate yourself with your new staff.
Yeah.
Literally giving them some of your life force.
Give them life.
That's going to...
it's like getting a kidney on your second day, isn't it?
It's but also it tells you something about the character.
Sheridan.
And again, I think if this was made now, they'd make a play about how part of it is he's traumatized because of the death of his wife and he's living on the edge, and it would all be very kind of depressing. Basically, I think is what I keep going back to.
It'd be a bit like Mel Gibson in the first Lethal Weapon.
Yes, yeah.
He's got a death wish because he just can't be bothered living, man.
Yeah, exactly. He's living on the edge.
We're living on the edge.
I also like, this is a very 90s thing, the way that Sheridan and his sister, she's Lizzie and he's Johnny, Jaco. Morden...
She has the most 90s haircut as well.
Time. Yeah.
With that little shaved back bit at the bottom of her bob.
Absolutely. She looks like she should have been a secretary for like the FBI in Silence of the Lambs or something.
Either that or a backup dancer for Janet Jackson for Rhythm Nation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
In one of those kind of like...
black cycle shorts.
Yeah, black cycle shorts, but those oversized suit jackets with the one big button.
Oh,
over the one side.
100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And so we get some stuff with Morden's back, and it's kind of, you get these characters in
Morden
90s
with
sci-fi
his
shows.
grin.
There's a thing in 90s sci-fi shows where you always get these characters where you kind of know. It's like Cigarette Smoking Man in the X-Files. You know it's going to be kind of an important episode just because they're in it.
Yeah.
So it's always good when you see Morden come back and have those conversations. And it's great as well because all the stuff with him, and I mean, there's pretty much every scene in this episode is just absolutely killer. The scene with Londo and Morden, that would be, in any other episode, that would be the big scene.
Yeah.
Where he's talking about how, you wanted to get noticed, and he's like, well, why don't we just destroy the Narn homeworld? And he's like, well, all in good time.
Yeah. In fact, it's good that you brought that out because he looks so horrified when Morden says all in good time, and you think, okay,
he's like, is he serious?
He'd never go that far. But then he tells Morden about the Narn's plan to go to the Rim and and exactly how much time they've got till they get there. But
in his mind, he's still, it's funny because I think that he's like, well, there's no way he can really do that, so I'm okay doing this. But you can tell that there's enough of his mind thinking, yes, he could actually do this, but enough that isn't, that he can feel, from a conscience perspective,
can kind of
not
explain
responsible
it away.
for it, you know.
But I like that because that's kind of a visual thing, representation of us saying each character has light and dark, good and bad. He's equally horrified at the thought of anyone getting harmed, but isn't preventing anyone getting harmed. At the same time.
It's like sort of somebody cheating because them and their partner were joking about having a hall pass or something. It's one of those kind of like choosing to interpret something a certain way.
You have not got a hall
because,
pass. Just, by the way.
I don't have the energy. But it's one of those. To justify a decision that you've kind of already made that is 100%. not a good one.
Yeah.
This is going to sound really bad. This is probably just me being very male. But the scene where Sheridan is talking to his sister, and he's like talking about, the station's really exciting. I get to, and she's like, you're just talking about work, why are you doing that? And part of me was thinking, he's got a cool job. Like, it's like, what's wrong with him talking about work? That's like all he's got in his life, and you're demeaning it. I just thought, I get what the writing is telling us is happening, and that there was probably scenes where he was going on a little bit, but I'm just like, oh, well, excuse me for like talking about my job when I'm like, running a city in space.
He really needed you to talk to, didn't he?
Yeah.
Someone who was going to go, wow.
I'd have like patted the sofa next to me and be like, look, let's just settle in for the night,
Any
man.
three-breasted women on this place?
Yeah. Where's the three-breasted women bar? So they talk about Anna dying, and he talks about missing her. And you know, like you say, Bruce Boxleitner, he just plays this stuff really well. And I think a big part of it is just his inherent likability. I think that's what he trades off. But go on, sorry, you're going to say something.
I was just going to say, you know where the three-breasted women are?
Where?
Paradise City.
No, stop. Editing is hard enough. Let's just say we watched Star Trek V the other night, and Hannah came up with some great lyrics for a song, which we won't mention here.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, my gosh.
Listeners, you're really missing out because it was a real high point in my musical career.
Yeah, it's definitely coming to a middle. And
don't worry, I sing it for Mike a lot.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Yeah, she sings me to sleep every night with it. So we see Sheridan plugs into the machine, and I like the way that they play the subplot about the attempted murder of Garibaldi. You know, like they play it for tension. I think it's played really well. It's nice to see Garibaldi back as well, and just even more twisted and bitter than he was in season 1.
I like the way they do the flashbacks as well. You know, when he's getting the probe. There's
some interesting like filmmaking stuff as well, like the scene where he's questioning the guy. Have you noticed how they were using like a weird, almost kind of like fisheye lens camera?
Yeah.
With like, and we haven't really seen that much directorial flourish. It's as though, again, the show's getting confident enough now to not just be standard kind of, you know, over the shoulder close up, reverse close up kind of thing. And I also like, again, we get a good Prisoner reference with the "be seeing you." You know, that's what they always do in the Prisoner, and we've seen Bester do it as well. So it's a bit of a giveaway. So what we're seeing is all of these storylines kind of coming back together again. And I like the fact that you get more stuff from Jakar about Jaquan, who's their kind of, their like Gandhi or their, you know, Dalai Lama.
Like spiritual leader.
Yeah, about how he spoke of an old war, like 1,000 years ago, and that this ancient darkness is returning. And, you know, that he says something about how, you know, everybody should be scared of them, apart from maybe the Vorlons. He's like, 'cause I can't imagine anybody that could be a danger to them. You know? We see the chrysalis start to crack as well. I like the fact that the first words that Garibaldi says when he wakes up and sees Franklin is "What's up, Doc?"
Yeah,
because he's got his whole Looney Tunes fixation
thing,
as well.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense. So Linnaeus says that Franklin has to keep the secret. The one line of dialogue I love, this is such a TV line of dialogue, and I let it go because, again, TV, 90s, and, you know, you have to kind of shout for the cheap seats. But I love the fact that, and nobody would ever say anything like this in real life, that Sheridan's sister says, "John, it's not your fault that she died on a deep space exploration vessel that exploded." I mean, she delivers the line better than me, but that's word for word what she says. And it's just kind of like, well, you know, I guess we needed to know that. But yeah, that's a very kind of, all right, okay, you've just got to play it out. And the fact that the ship's called the Icarus as well. And of course, you know, Icarus flew too close to the sun or too close to this, you know, this ancient evil. But when you get this backstory, and this is interesting, when you think about how the show's put together, is that when they talk about what happened to his wife and how she was on this expedition and then all of this stuff happened, clearly that was all meant to be Catherine Sakai, you know, because she worked for that kind of thing. So by retroactively refilling in the backstory and giving it to Sheridan's wife, in that one scene, that's a great example of JMS's trapdoor storytelling. Yeah, you know, and you know what? That never occurred to me when I first watched the show. No, so job done. You know. Yeah.
It's not clunky. You know, he does it with finesse. So it's fine.
Jakar tells them about the ancient race from their holy books, and they sent a ship to a dark and terrible place called Zahadum, he says. I like the way that the security guys lay the boot into the guy when they catch him. And
they say, just take a few laps around the block and leave him with us.
I like the way he's like, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but we'll not do that.
Yeah.
I like that Garibaldi does...
That's when you call a naughty child spirited.
Yeah, exactly. I like that Garibaldi gets to do the classic 90s... I'm okay, Doc, I can go. No, you need 2 more days in bed. You know, that kind of like...
You can either help me or you can...
get out of my way.
Get out of my way.
And the heel security guy talks about how a new order is coming. You can be part of it and get stepped on. The president calls Sheridan and he's just like, we'll have no more talk about this bizarre conspiracy, and just completely covers everything up. It
now give me all the files you have.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it can't be underestimated how much... the pop culture of the 90s, the mid-90s, was dominated by the X-Files and the rise of the internet and all of this, for the first time since Watergate, real questioning of, authoritarianism. And
absolutely.
And
but even, like, when you look back, it's very of a time, the show, in the sense that the way they share information is very 90s.
Yeah.
Like, even if you were to hand over all the files for something now, you'd have a backup in the cloud somewhere. Like, it wouldn't be that you couldn't access it anymore.
Yeah. Although, it is a military installation, so it is entirely possible that they would have those contingencies.
Yeah, I suppose.
Like maybe, not a lot of governmental data things, they're not networked.
Yeah.
But again, I know what you mean. It's like people still hand each other pieces of paper.
Yeah.
I love it on Star Trek when they've got the data pads and everyone talks about, they're like iPads, but they'll give somebody one of those. And like Picard will have like 5 of them on his desk with different reports on.
Yeah.
And it's just the idea that you would have an individual device for a different document.
Imagine being at the data pad factory.
I know, gosh, business must be booming. But
absolutely.
But the Shadows attack the ship that the Narn send out to investigate, and Jakar says no one knew except for Jakar. Yes, I was thinking a cigar. Jakar. Wow. Oh, God. I bet they did that on the show every time you walked in.
I could put a CD out, I reckon.
You could. An 8-track maybe. Lanier brings in Delenn, and she gets to do a great sci-fi hoodie reveal as well. That's a thing. She talks about how Sinclair has been invited to live on her world, and in return she's undergone a change to be a bridge between their worlds. And we see Sheridan get a message from his wife, and she talks about his ancient civilization. And it's a really nice sort of touching scene as well. He gets to say goodbye. And again, Babylon 5 does that thing where you would think that would be the final scene when he's saying goodbye to his wife. But there's like 4 more scenes because there's just too much storyline. So we learn that the core endorsed, the Psi Corps endorsed Clark. We see Jakar talking to Natoth, and he does the Center Cannot Hold speech. And I like the fact that you get it. He does that great thing where it cuts to a montage of people on the station going about their business whilst Jakar's still delivering the narration. That's a technique that the show will use quite a lot. We learn that Clark's not taking any calls and the prisoner's been transferred. And I like the kind of feeling of the final scene when Sheridan and Ivanova are looking out the window, and he's like, it gets kind of cold up here sometimes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And she's like, yep, does quite a lot of the time. And that's a nice little bonding moment, because it's as though he's realising,
all is not what it seems.
Yeah, I can totally see that I'm perhaps a little naive about these things.
A bit trusting.
Yeah, so any final thoughts before we wrap up, Anna?
Just really freaking solid, and I'm just enjoying it more and more every episode we watch. And I'm really pleased we've got microphones that mean we can watch the next one quickly. And I'm sure we will do the next one quickly.
Yeah. Oh my
like
God. Whilst Hannah looks up what the next episode is, I will procrastinate and do a little bit of business here. Quick reminder that we do appreciate feedback at rewatchprojectpodcast@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can leave comments here on the channel. Likes and subscribes very much appreciated. The more people who subscribe, the more people join the conversation, and that is a great motivator for doing these more often. Also, check out the other content on this channel, including the other film, TV, music, and general pop culture related goodness that cohabits. And also, donations via PayPal, very much appreciated. But if and only if you can afford to do so without causing yourself any financial hardship, because we do not want that. What are we talking about next time, Hannah?
The next episode is called The Geometry of Shadows. Synopsis says, Ivanova deals with the Drazi custom, which only occurs once every 5 years. Technomages arrive on the station.
All right.
It is directed by Michael, is it Vija or Veha?
Viha.
Veha. And written by JMS.
All righty, looking forward to that. So that's us for now, guys, and we will be back soon. Goodbye.
Bye.